Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLuga. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Thursday, November 21st, week away from Thanksgiving. Wow. So, bye week for the Jags. Nothing has happened on the coaching front. Nothing has happened in the front office. There were a lot of reports out there about, if the Jaguars get blown out by the Lions, maybe this is it. This could be it. Change could be coming. Nothing to this point. Shad Khan marches to the beat of his own drum, and it could still happen at some point during the bye or just before, they get going with practices and all that next week. Who knows? Literally, who knows? No one knows. National media people think they've got the Jaguars figured out. They never do. No one does. Now, what we're talking about here today is Shad Khan, the Jaguars owner, the problem. Is he the problem with the Jacksonville Jaguars? Is he the reason the Jaguars cannot find sustained success? He's been the owner of the Jaguars for quite a while now, operating owner since 2012. 62 and 144. 62 and 144. Absolutely awful. The Jaguars have had losing seasons, which this will be a losing season in 2024. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 out of the 13 years that Shad Khan has been the Jaguars owner. The Jaguars have had losing seasons. They are 3-2 in the playoffs. They got that right. Not a bad playoff record there. But obviously, those results, entirely unacceptable. Pathetic, really. I mean, historically poor. Is he the problem? Is he the problem? I do want to give him credit in some regards, right? Like, this is not an owner that's unwilling to spend. I want to give credit for what he does well. The business side, him and Mark Lamping, they've got that thing churning out. Jaguars are doing great on the business side of things. He took a $700 million, a little over $700 million investment and turned the franchise into a organization that's now worth over $4.5 billion. Pretty good investment, right? He has constantly worked to upgrade the infrastructure of the stadium. Scoreboards, world's largest outdoor scoreboards, right? He put those in. The pools, the entire north end zone deck, the flex field, Daly's place. Then you get the Miller Electric Center done last year. Coming soon is the Stadium of the Future. He's done all that in the last 12, 13 years. I mean, not bad. He's also invested in the area around the stadium. 4 seasons coming soon. A lot of people said that wasn't going to happen, but it's happening. Spending to make this franchise and the area around the stadium more relevant has not been a problem for Shad Khan. He has been more than willing to do that. And he's also willing to spend every penny that he can to make the football team better. Whether that's spending on coaches, which he has spent a ton on coaches, right? He absolutely has. Spending on players, same thing. Jaguars are routinely at the top of free agent spending. And as of late, they've done a really good job retaining some star talent. Spending on the football facilities, as we mentioned. He'll do it. He will do all of that. He has, he will continue to do that. But again, he's 62 and 144 as the Jaguars owner. An abysmal record. When Wayne Weaver was the Jaguars owner, maybe from a business standpoint, things weren't the best, especially, after the run in the 90s, but they stayed relevant after Tom Coughlin. They did. I mean, Jack Del Rio was not a failed coach entirely, right? Like he came in and he made the playoffs a couple times, and the Jaguars had an identity under Jack Del Rio. And it fizzled out at the end, it did, but they were a tough, hard-nosed football team. They ran the ball with the best of them. They had a big physical offensive line. They had great running backs. And they had defenses that could shut you down. Like what they built with Jack Del Rio defensively, that was impressive. And they had an identity. They were respectable. What's happened since then, Mike Mularkey, Gus Bradley, Doug Marrone, Urban Meyer, Doug Peterson, it has not been good enough. It has not been good enough. And we're going to talk about Shad Khan's role in that coming up next. First, got to remind y'all to check out Underdog Fantasy for Pick'em and a whole lot more. You can use code Duval Daily on their easy-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. This season, Underdog is running a special promo or bonus almost every single day, like Profit Boost. You can pump up your winnings in just a tap when you apply the boost to eligible entries. There are tons of options around the league this week. Jaguars, you can't pick against them, unfortunately. Can't pick a running back to score against their defense there. But you can take a look around the league, maybe look at some running backs you think have a good chance of finding the end zone. Underdog has vulture protection for your running backs to rescue your pick'em. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Duval Daily to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply, void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP. That's 1-800-639-8783 or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy. If you're supporting them, you're supporting us. So, back to Shad Khan. He has been a failed owner in this. He just cannot win with any sort of sustainability. Why is that? In my opinion, there is no accountability at the top. There's no accountability above the head coach and the general manager. There's no checks and balances. There's no daily making sure that this operation looks like it's running smoothly. I mean, how many embarrassing situations have happened? Talk about the Jaguars getting essentially robbed to the tune of like, what was it, $20 million by one of their own employees. Talk about the Brandon McManus situation last year, the Urban Meyer debacle off the field and within the building. Tom Coughlin running rampant with the fines. There are no checks and balances at the top of the organization. Like there's no Mark Lamping on the football side. Someone with experience who understands and has been a part of and sustained success and knows the modern side of things too. Like, I think he was close with Coughlin. I really do. Now, hiring Doug Marrone as the head coach, I think he was just kind of like a Coughlin type of guy. That was never a great decision there. But I think he was close with Coughlin, but there was just a little bit too much old school in Tom Coughlin. Just a little bit too much. If he could have adapted a little bit more to the modern game, to the modern rules and regulations of the NFL, yeah, I think maybe in a different world that could have worked. And I mean, it led to immediate success. 2017 was unbelievable. They ran the ball with Leonard Fournette. They were tough on both lines of scrimmage. That defense was incredible. But again, No checks. And like, how did Tom Coughlin and that organization get away with, and they ended up not getting away with it, but for, multiple years, Tom Coughlin was the top of the organization, and they were finding players against the rules. How, again, checks and balances. How is that allowed to happen? I don't know. That's horrible. And then, again, Tom Coughlin was not perfect in his decision making either. I mean, I think he was close, but like the Nick Foles situation, absolutely ridiculous. Doug Marrone as the head coach, So there's that side. He just cannot find a way to have accountability at the top of the organization. And to me, they probably do need an EVP, or they need a group of leadership that is going to hold things accountable inside that building day in and day out, whatever that looks like. They honestly probably need someone like Baselli as a key member of the organization. You look around some of the kind of pillar franchises in the NFL, a lot of the times a former player has a key role in making sure that like this organization's being run the way a Jaguar organization should be run. Right? And I know there's been rumors about Baselli as EVP. I don't know anything about that. He's obviously not qualified and from an experience standpoint to run a football organization. Do I think he would be a good key piece to a football organization? Yeah. Would I be completely against him being EVP? I guess not. I mean, it sounds crazy on the surface with his lack of experience, but like he knows what it needs to look like. He probably does. But people like that care about this organization so deeply, that have experience in the game, that have been around the modern game, those are the type of people the Jaguars need. And until they get that, until there's some accountability for the general manager, until there's some accountability for the head coach and the way the organization runs on a day-to-day basis, it's going to continue to fail because Shad Khan does not know how to do it. He doesn't know how. He's also been a failure in being too loyal, holding on for too long. As soon as Tom Coughlin started having issues with these finding players, I mean, that should have been the end of that. Doug Marrone was here for way too long. Dave Caldwell was here for way too long. Gus Bradley was here for way too long. Trent Baalke, my goodness. I would have never hired Trent Baalke, and you can go back and watch the videos. I would have never hired Trent Baalke. I would have never hired him to be player personnel. I would have never hired him to be GM. I would have fired him along with Urban Meyer. I wanted him fired at points during the 2022 season. Obviously, after what happened in 2022, hard to say, he's got to go. But then you see what he did in 2023. Leading up to that season, it was very disappointing. The lack of effort to improve the roster and absolute failure in terms of coaching hire this year with Nielsen, with the free agent signings, absolute failures. It's been horrible. So, yeah, Shad Khan is the problem. The thing is, he's also the solution. But he has to figure that out for himself. He has to figure out that they need people in place that can hold others accountable, that their ultimate goal is not personal aspirations. It's for this organization to become stable. Bottom line. So really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you want to support the channel further, you can check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear. You can become a channel member here on YouTube. Y'all have a good one.